what should we talk about? The usual or the unusual? Are you changing your look? Are you becoming sadhu like me? There's a bunch of food we've eaten. And that food, a part of it remains true. That which we call this body. Without God's presence, it's just a lump of food, that too old food. What is here? This is not going to last. What provides even the life force or life energy or prana for this to be animated like this? So, the absurdity of the human condition is that we spend most of our life catering to just some spaghetti that we've eaten. And hardly any focus or attention goes to that which is the animating light behind all this. What an absurd sort of situation. And in doing so, we believe that we are being very rational, because our rationality seems to have defined things for us in this way. When we contemplate for a moment, we find that there is a presence within us. And we'll look later at what within means, but it is experienced as if there is a presence within us. And what is the usual stance after that? It's okay. It's okay, must be. So how does that help me? So how is the clump of food helped because there is a presence within us? But seriously, I want to ask all of you, there is a presence within you. Step out of the hypnosis for a moment and just meet this fact. There is a presence, literally, we are not making anything up. It is not spiritual poetry we are doing. We are speaking factually, isn't it? There is an aliveness within you. There is a being within you. So in satsang, what happens is that because we've heard these words so often, consciousness, beingness, awareness, you're just like, yeah, good, but what about the absolute? There's something bigger. I want that. You see? But how many of us have really seen this or met this truly? There is a living presence within you. Who is that? And is this good news or bad news? That there is a being within me. Is that good news or bad news? And how will we determine that? When you're living in the storybook level of your life, which makes everything into a narrative, and it's all based on thought constructs and conceptual ideas about who you are and what you are, it is just an avoidance of meeting this reality that there is a being here. And I'm telling you this, that this being is what this universe, what this world is made up of. It is what we call I am. This being itself is what we call I am. I am. Isn't it super strange that there is a being within you firstly, and secondly you call it I am? Are we making up stuff? Because this is not how we are living. You see, we are living in complete denial of this fact, no? We are living under the notion that we are some object and we have a name and we have a form. We are made up of a bunch of food. So this being, I am, taking itself to be something that has a name and form, is the hypnosis of Maya. This is how Maya functions. This is the original function of Maya. When you really look at it, is there any way that that being could just be this? But because that being is ununderstandable, and we live our life as if we have to understand everything, and we seem to understand, although we don't. We seem to understand how a body could exist. So we've reduced ourselves to the lowest possible denominator, which is that I am the body. I can explain it away. I was born to my mother. I came into my mother's womb because some action happened. So we can explain that existence of a body, and we know what will happen to it. It will end up on the funeral pyre or under the ground. This the mind seems to be able to confirm, so it says. I can't find anything else that I can understand. So let's hold on to this. And that is why satsang is usually very intolerable to the mind. The ones who come to satsang many times will feel like, what's happening here? I can't understand. Can't understand. You see? So, this is the second astounding thing. This is the second astounding thing, that not only is there a being here, and that being I call I am. Secondly, there is a different way, or a different tool, or a different mechanism, or a different source of knowledge itself, which we call intuition. It is not the mental intuition, oh, I got an idea about something. You see? All the good things you know only through intuition. So there is a being, there is a source of knowledge or a way to access true knowledge, which is intuition. And intuitively, I know things like love, truth, peace. I know my being, and I know that I am aware of this being. Without relying on one idea, one notion from the mind, in the complete innocence of an infant child, I know all of this. And again, what happens? The mind, who has been the dominant force in our life, you see, is what intuition? How can I really say? Can you prove? Can you prove that you are aware? Can you prove that there is a self which is empty of qualities and attributes? It wants everything to be pulled down to its level. So satsang is to learn to rely on this knowledge, which we may call heart knowledge or intuitive knowledge, or the Sadguru presence, whatever you may want to call it. And by the way, where does this knowledge come from? What is that heart? Who is that Sadguru? The same being itself. Same being itself. The same being who lives within you animates this bunch of flesh, but actually it animates this entire universe, and that will be your insight as well. So that same creator, sustainer, destroyer, rejuvenator, whatever you may want to call it, is the one that is available to you as a source of true knowledge, which will tell you about that which is all that is worth knowing. What do you know in your heart and your head cannot fathom or grasp? That is all that is worth knowing. What is this? What is this? What is this? Even a moment leaves the mind confused. One moment leaves the mind fully confused. What is this? What are you saying? This is Satsang. No, that's the label, but what is this? Oh, there's a master, there are disciples. Yeah. It's just perception. But what is this? One moment we cannot interpret. And yet, who here doesn't have a story about their life? So if the body is a bunch of food, our stories are a bunch of what? Garbage, to be polite. Huh? So I would say, okay, we have the ability to narrate a story about our life, but how is it possible that one that cannot put one brick on top of the other to determine what this is, can talk about the castles that they have built? Again, what's the problem? The problem is that the mind is fearful of that which it cannot understand. So it again reduces the story of our life, just like it reduced us to a collection of food. It reduces our life to a collection of thoughts. This happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. Now I'm here because of this. Basically, nobody you meet agrees with you on that. Those who grew up with you will say, what are you talking about? It is very different. Nobody agrees. Because everybody has a different bunch of concepts, different interpretations of what has seemingly happened. Secondly, we cannot even confirm that anything has ever happened. Maybe the dream just started. Maybe the dream just started and you ended up in this strange place. And yet, just like in a dream, if someone says, where are you coming from? You can say. In a dream also you don't say, no, this is a dream, I can't tell you. No, I came from here, I came like this, I was born here. Full story is there, no? So this also the mind cannot understand, but it has a story as a defense. Who you are, the mind cannot defend, but it has the body as a defense. So the mind's version of things and my version of things is completely different. And because it is so completely different, it is impossible to come up and create a happy middle where every spiritual seeker wants to live. You determine a happy middle. You feel like this could be like a nice fast food restaurant, and you would say, okay, I'll have a bit of this, I'll have a bit of non-doership, please, and then I'll have a bit of something, a bit of experience or darshan of Atma, and little bit of non-doership, little bit of Atma, and I can go around and have a happy life. We want to include what is discovered in satsang in that which we consider to be our greater life, so that that greater life can improve and become better or happier. But that is just not possible. You have to decide whether you want to live under the ocean or build a house in the sky. Both you cannot do. And which is which, you can decide. I'm not making a value judgment about which is better or worse. I'm just saying that it is not possible to live in the way of the head and live in the way of the heart. Irreconcilable differences, no? Popular term. In the way of the head, in the way of the heart, nothing is the same. You are not the same. Life is not the same. What meaning is given to anything is not the same. Birth and death are not the same. Up and down are not the same. And this is where your mind starts to struggle. The mind will start to struggle here because some things we take to be a given. No? You may say, I came here to destroy my ego. But did you realize that you have to also destroy what you think up is and down is? What yesterday is and what tomorrow is? What 1 hour ago is and what next moment is? No, nobody comes into satsang believing that they will have to give up on all of that. We just want to have a spiritual experience, some spiritual insight, some spiritual knowledge, and include that nicely into our life. Make a nice, like in the corporate world, we have these pie charts. So we balance it all out: spiritual life, material life, physical life, emotional life. Nice, balanced life. It's not going to happen. Easy. So, fake spirituality is all about promising this fake nonsense to the fake non-existent one. Fake spirituality has who at the center of it? You come. You come. Because you will get God. And by getting God, you'll have the best life, peaceful, stress-free. Doesn't work out. Because the ego is a land grabber. No? It's a grabber. So it will grab, oh, now I know this, now I know this, now I also know this, I've read this scripture, my master says this has happened, this happened. The mind grabs all of this and adds it to the false persona. Under the guise of progress. Who is progressing? I am, but not I am. I am that one which I take myself to be. If you had a pet dog and the pet dog came to you and said, I am going to find God so that I can use God. Or the plants in your house start saying, I'm looking for God so that once I find God, I will be fully peaceful. I will be the happiest plant ever. You will say, what makes you special that you will use God? You are nothing. But this bunch of food is also nothing. It's just old food. You want to use God? You want to meet God so that you can become better. Stupider things have rarely been spoken. Okay. And then the spiritual ego, and don't get me wrong, this is all experience here, okay? All experience here. Then we roam around with our thermometers. Yeah? And this works for me, this doesn't work for me, this satsang is better, this satsang is work, this one must, this practice, this thing. And all the time, that which spirituality is meant to accomplish, which means your dissolution, then spirituality becomes the opposite project. The ego found a new way. Maybe initially it was threatened. Initially it felt threatened. But then I can work with this. Because I am God. They are telling me I am God. All this is for me. So if you know that you are God only in the head, forget about it. You are just some fool. If you are looking at spirituality so that you can come to a perfect, balanced life, so looking for a perfect, balanced life, at least in satsang you can get some restful sleep. So, firstly, the very discovery of this presence which lives within you must not be treated as if, oh, in my house there was another room and that's a nice room, but I'm so grateful I found this room. I'll visit it when I'm troubled. Although it does help with that, but in this discovery, shouldn't it shake your ego to the core and say, what is going on here? Or is it okay to spend this entire life and die, and in the last moment you say, yeah, possibly God was here, but I can't really say. Because I went around in my merry way, taking myself to be little old me. Or even to say, it was nice, I came to the discovery of God within me, and anytime I was troubled, I would just go there. So nice. There is a presence, and that presence, the sages have told us, belongs to God. That God that aspect of God which you feel connected to, if that showed up outside in your house, Would you say to that, oh, I've got to write an email to my boss, I'll be with you in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Please wait. Like that. And God decided to give you a more intimate darshan, and we are just in avoidance of it. And God, if God could get frustrated, God would be like, what do I have to do here? He said, show me God, here I am. If you are saying, let me just finish my other stuff, I'll come to you. Because my mind tells me and my family tells me I have to do things in balance. In a limit. Don't go too far. Can you imagine if God had feelings like a human? In human relationships, suppose this happened. You've been writing to this boy for years, please come, or girl, please come. You know? So she comes from a different realm, not an objective realm, not like this universe at all. She makes the journey between that realm and here. I will meet my beloved, and my beloved will be so overjoyed to meet me. But the beloved comes in your heart and you're just like, can you wait a bit? I've got stuff to do. The eternal can wait. Because my boss will not. And then you may even say, okay, now that I have met you, how is my life better? And although I am exaggerating in a way to make the point, but our human condition as spiritual seekers is just like this. God lives in our heart, and what are we up to? So either we must be going with our mind which is doubting, or we must not have found it in our heart. But to meet God and then make it priority number 35 is something which is unfathomable. What is the problem? The problem is in the meeting of God, you realize that you're running away from that. You cannot live on what you thought were your own terms anymore. So far, spirituality had been on your terms. I am going to rebel against the world. I am going to do the opposite of what my parents are saying. I am going to do all of this. So your mind was getting to its version of freedom. Now, as you're meeting God's presence, you're finding that it is impossible to hold on to individual will and stay in the true darshan of the Lord. And that is scary for you. Because you do not count on having to let go of your will. You wanted to have an amplified will, a greater freedom. therefore we came into spirituality trying to use surrender, but really not getting to the root of what surrender actually means. What are we surrendering? What are we surrendering? If you don't surrender your will, then you have not surrendered at all. Then it's just a lip service spirituality. If you continue to do everything on your mind's terms, which is not your terms, you believe it is my terms, it is under the mind's terms, then that is not true spirituality anyway. And it is scary. Don't run away from that fear, meet it. Allow that to burn you up. Meet it. Meet the fact that you don't know. In surrendering to the light of the Holy Presence that is here, what may unfold in the next moment, your false idea of control will get extinguished in this. But for the false to get extinguished is auspicious. That anyway, you're believing a lie and now the lie is being burned. And only the lie can be burned. The truth can never be burned. So if you believe that coming to satsang you will get a broader freedom for your mind to do whatever it wants, you may be in for a rude shock. Because in the spiritual marketing, especially in today's world, come, you'll get peace, you'll be happy. But it will also be, for many of us, the most difficult and the most painful thing we've ever done. Because it is for these belief systems that we are even able to or willing to give up this body and the bodies of others. If in the human condition a human believes something strongly enough, then they are willing to end their life and the life of others for these beliefs. And you come into satsang and you're being introduced to something deeper than belief, which is faith. But to live in faith is to live empty of belief. And in that way it can seem like the most difficult thing. You just came for better beliefs. Give me the perfect belief system which is spiritual. I'll go happy. No belief is allowed. All has to go. For the mind it is scary because in the mind's version of living in service to God's will, living in a true surrender now as it is unfolding, seems like a powerless, controlled, like a puppet life. And yet the clues about this have been everywhere. It is well established in all cultures, all religions, that those who let go of individual will come to God. Those who come to devotion come to God. Those who surrender come to God. Where is it not? Everywhere. To meet Ram, you have to become Hanuman. To become a Sikh, you have to follow the hukum of God, hukum rajai chalna. To be a Muslim is to follow the will of God. Islam means to follow the will of God. Christianity is that thy will be done, thy kingdom come. Can thy kingdom come without thy will be done? You want to live in God's kingdom, but my will be done. Possible? So every sage, every religion, every master, everyone has told us this. But you want the benefits of living a peaceful, happy life, living in heaven, but under the control of that which is the seller of, or the lord of hell, if you're going to be a bit strong about this. My will be done, but thy kingdom come. Possible? And then what is our approach? Don't take my will away, but just make it better, no? Just teach me. I am willing to learn. How should I change? Let go. No. Hey, Guruji, is there anyone else up there? Let go. Can't do it. What is being asked to let go? Your beliefs, your way. So what we don't realize is that we want to live with God, but we don't realize this. We want to live with God, but we want to be the dominant one even there. We want a God-assisted life, not a God-dictated one. If I told all of you that this moment on, your life should only follow what God has dictated, only what God has dictated, that may seem scary. But meet that fear instead of pushing it under the carpet. What are we attached to? What are we so scared that God will take from us? And if we know better what we should have or not, what is the surrender thing we are talking about? So, that very presence is the only way that we can determine what is good or bad and right and wrong. We have no other way of doing it. We've tried building ethical principles, moral codes. Nobody ever follows them. And they all disintegrate as soon as they are created. And yet, in our hearts, we know. We always know. So, initially, it will seem like there are two aspects to following God's will. The first aspect is to allow the light to unfold naturally, just being in God's presence. So all your fears about self-image and how you have to present yourself and what you have to say and how you have to behave and all that may go out the door in this itself. And this itself may be too scary for most. But there may come a time where this body, which is truly in service to God's will, may start getting used as an instrument of God's will in a more authoritative way. In the sense that who is truly living in a surrender may then be used as an instrument to guide others in this surrender, in this path. And that, although it may seem like a very glamorous concept to many of us, and we may feel like that is the mind's version of the culmination of what is going on in Satsang. Many times we may realize that it is not exactly what we thought it was. It demands, if we are going to be true to it, then it demands the greatest surrender of handing over this life more than we ever imagined. If we are going to be false with it, it is going to be a worse existence than hell itself. And that I would not wish upon my worst enemies, because to live a life where you have to come and pose in front of those that you call your children for hours on end and then drop that pose and return to selfishness. That's not a way to live. No amount of people falling at your feet makes that worthwhile. No amount of money that you may make from exploiting people around you makes that worthwhile. That kind of duality, that kind of duplicacy, one persona of the ego is more than enough to trouble us. And we create a spiritual persona and then return to that will. So that demands a surrender which is beyond anything that we originally fathomed. It may seem, and there's like everything in this world, what things seem to be are not really what they are, because there is no instrument or teacher or master on this world who can be at peace and happy unless there is a complete surrender to God's will. Just not possible. So it demands of you a complete squeezing of your personal desires. It's very important to meet this upfront, because never come into a position where you feel that the guidance that you're receiving in your heart is only to be shared with others around you. You have to then be completely bowed down on your knees for the rest of your life, if that is the life that seems attractive. You can only be service. This prayer came to me a few days ago. Father, may I never forget that I can only serve on my knees. Can only serve with your head bowed down and on your knees. Although in satsang your persona may be very authoritative, it may be listen, like that, it's fine. But in your heart you have to be humble. Because if you carry a little bit of ego, that will magnify, because that is what God will demand of their instrument, of God's instrument. I met a friend who consults with my wife's company, and he was saying, oh, good, go, because he knows I have satsang. So he was joking with me. He was saying, not today, a few days back, he said, go, you have your satsang to go, and if all things fail in business, at least you have that, you can, make a good living out of that. Then Garima told him, but he doesn't charge, he doesn't take money. And he was good humored about it, and obviously complete naivety about what this is. So he said, you're wasting the best opportunity. You're wasting the best opportunity. You've been doing this 11, 12 years. You haven't made money. This is what it looks like from the outside. You see, because you see these images of people who are then so comfortable, well off, maybe even wealthy. Some are known to be wealthier than the smallest nations in the world. You see? So it can seem very glamorous. What else do you want? You have people falling at your feet, they put malas on you, they do all of this. It can seem so attractive to the world. All the attention you want, all the love you want from so many people is there for you. But if you step into this with even a speck of dust in your eyes, that dust will seem to get magnified and amplified. So you must learn to first follow the guidance, which is, if the guidance is there, then the guidance must be followed. Let no one believe that they are like the Lord, like Krishna, and say, do as I say and not do as I do. These things are possible for God to say. It is said that Krishna said, do as I say, don't do as I do. Those are things that are only possible for God to save. An instrument of God, a servant of God, which is what a teacher is. You must never preach or share or say anything that they themselves cannot follow. The life of a teacher demands a great authenticity of us. Why I'm saying all of this is because if you are going to learn to live in the light, then you will not be able to predict or say that, okay, I want to become a teacher. It will just unfold organically. It will just unfold. As you're living in the light, you will see that there are some who start to get attracted to you and say, what's with you? There's something different about you. What is it? What is it? Tell us. You may be sitting in a group, but people may just want to sit and listen to you somehow. You don't know how that happened. So it just flows like that. And initially to the mind it may seem attractive. But keep that which is providing the words in your mouth must then be fully surrendered to. Having said all this, I want to also say that I cannot imagine a greater use of this life than to be used in service to spreading God's light. I cannot imagine a greater use of this life than that. Because everything around us, everyone around us, seems oblivious to the presence of God. And they feel like there is only one way to live in this world, which is the way of the head. It is full of desire and aversion and regret. It's basically a living hell. So as you have found refuge from the hell of your head, it's only natural for you to spread this in your love. Because you will not be left. So again, as with anything else, you have no choice in the matter, actually. Because you love in your heart. And if there is love in your heart, how will you see your brothers and sisters and children go through a living hell when it is possible to live in the way of the heart? If it is possible to live in God's light, it is natural for you to share it with those who are living under the ego's oppression, the ego shadow. It's very, very natural as well. And if I've confused you completely, then you have to make do with that. Okay, let's see if I can make it simpler. If you graduate in fake spirituality, then you will become a fake spiritual teacher. And graduate in fake spirituality means that if you graduated in a spirituality where the me was central and not God was central, then you will continue to teach that, to share that. You will continue to be at the center. And you will have to pose as if God is. You have to pose as if God is, but actually you want yourself to be at the center of all of it. That will be a most oppressive, troublesome way to live. So I would not suggest that to anybody. But if you surrender fully in your heart, then this body will be used as an instrument to share God's light. It is not inevitable, but almost inevitable. Because in consciousness, all things are possible, but usually you will find that that is how it unfolds. In fact, even if you don't want people to chase you, they will. There's a sage in Tiruvannamalai, and Ishana sent me that video. So she didn't want anyone to chase her. She's living the life of a beggar. She's called, and she's got a very absurd name. She's called Topi Amma, because she wears a cap, and then she's just like an Avduta walking from here to there. Nothing she does makes sense. It's just all over the place. But people obviously must be feeling something in her presence, must be finding an attraction to be in her presence. So this one who doesn't bathe for days, who spits all over her mouth and throws chai on her clothes and all this thing, people are chasing her. Because when there is a calling in our heart, if you were to find that which fulfills our longing in our heart in the most difficult of the world circumstances, even that will feel like nothing for us. When there is a calling in our heart for the truth, and if we find our master, but in the way of the master, it seems like the most terrible, oppressive way to live. And the mind may want to run with all of its might. You will find that you have to fulfill that longing no matter what. And this aspect of it also cannot be undervalued, that this very presence, your heart's presence, the Sadguru presence within you, which the seeming master on the outside can seem to bring to your focus. And that is possibly the only job of the master outside, is to bring your inner light into focus. Because it is in this inner light that we find true rest, we find true peace. We get tired of the world. We get tired of the world. And then we feel that all of us have said at one point, we are so tired, please leave me alone. Leave me alone. Give me some space. Many of us have wanted to move to mountains and spiritual places, to be alone. But what are we trying to escape? Many, unfortunately, continue to carry that with them. So you may move to the holiest place, but if you carry the lawyer for the living hell with you, it doesn't help. So rest and rejuvenation is completely possible where you are, if you drop the advocate of the false. That is what we are yearning for when we want to rest and rejuvenate and be alone. So in this presence, we have said so much. About this presence, we have said so much. And yet, most of us, most of humanity seems to live in a way as if it doesn't exist. It is the creator of this world. It is our only true guide in this world. It is our only rest and rejuvenation in this world. It is where all judgments about good and bad can come from. It is where our true self can be recognized, that which is beyond even being and not being. All that is love only emerges from there. All the life energy emerges from there. All insight only comes from there. What is life without this? If you had the body but you had no being, would that be living or death? If you found a way that the body could still animate itself but you were not being, just like a character in a computer game, just like a Fortnite character with a headset on, would you call that life? How are we living and in denial of life itself? Life is here. But we follow the way of that one that never lived. I am going to fight every moment of my life for you to lead a true life. I know that the main principle behind which the ego works is to reverse everything, make it all upside down. So death may seem like life to you and life may seem like death. Obedience to God may seem like oppression to you and freedom of your mind may seem like life. To follow God's will may seem like a constriction to you, but to be selfish may seem like freedom. But as long as you are willing to hear what this one has to say, I will fight with every waking breath, with everything at my disposal, for you to switch sides from head to heart. Many of you will come to this kicking and screaming, I'm well aware of that. It is very much a part of this human condition that the ego doesn't leave us usually, doesn't leave us easily. So you will have tantrums, you will want to be right, you will want to know, you will want to judge, you will want to attack me, you will want to say all kinds of things. But as long as I remember that although you call me father, I'm actually meant just to be here as your servant. To serve that which is truthful within you. It's almost ironic that who wants to serve that which is truthful within you is called the master in this life. I am only a servant to that holiness within your heart, to the God, that God's light within your heart. This instrument is only meant to serve that. It's like an alarm clock has only one job. There's only one job. And what happens when it rings? Especially if you had a long night of partying and it rings in the morning, what happens? Nobody loves the alarm clock first thing in the morning. But it rings. So the external form of the master is just a glorified alarm clock. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. You can. I can't wake up. 15 more minutes. No, now wake up. Because that 15 minutes will never happen. Wake up now. Of course, most of you are able to put me on snooze mode. Tomorrow, Satsang. My job is to just keep saying, no, now, not tomorrow, Satsang. Now. Now. No alarm clock ever rings and they wake up in 15 minutes, wake up in 15. Wake up now. None of us can ever say which is their last satsang. When I stopped going to Art of Living, I never decided this will be my last satsang. I was going there once a week or twice a week. But something just started resisting. So we can never really say, we can never really put it off for tomorrow. So I have to wake you up today. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But I only have to wake you up today. Because today at least your head is in range. When will you put it up next? On the guillotine of Satsang? We don't know. We can't really see. But today at least it's in range. And although Gopala makes these nice metaphors for my expression, but really, what is the chopping? What is the chopping? The chopping is only through showing you the greater. It's through showing you the greater. But if you insist that you want to take your imaginary friend along, then sometimes the master has to say, stop it. Stop it. And that can seem like a chopping. That's the extent of the chopping. What is the imaginary friend? That which you take yourself to be, the falseness about you. Cannot be carried by you to your heart. It's not possible. And anyway, all of you have said, burn, burn, burn me, Father. Everything that is false, please burn me, burn. Huh? A little bit burning started. And that's natural, because if it didn't feel like burning, then it will all just be poetic and sweet. It's not like that. Burning does burn. It seems obvious. It seems obvious that burning does burn. But you feel like, just like we've been able to convey words of true surrender while holding on to our ego in some way, in the same way we feel like we'll be able to go through the burning without really burning in some way. But you cannot fool your own heart. You cannot fool life, which is just a projection of that godly presence in your heart. It will always create the most conducive environment for what your heart is longing for. It will create the most conducive environment for that to really come true. Yeah. If you made a true prayer in your heart that you want to surrender and you want to burn all that which is false, even if there is an aspect of you which is still attached to that which is false, life will create the circumstances and environments in which that surrender can be made. And at that moment your mind may complain and resist and say, but this is not what I wanted. But it is what you wanted. Guruji says it was an answered prayer. So this is the beauty just of meeting God's thumb or toenail, the presence of God, all that we've spoken today, the awe of meeting God itself through this presence, in the light of this presence, is beyond comprehension. But no amount of computation and understanding and reading, and not that any of those things are bad, but just by that, without God's presence, true insight is just not possible. Just not possible. True anything is just not possible. So as it is popularly said, true love is also not possible, because you may read hundreds and hundreds and thousands of books, but if you don't learn 2.5 alphabets of love, prem in Hindi, you've not met anything real. Dhai Akshar prem. But to meet a love which is without expectation is usually only possible in the guru-disciple way. Most other relationships are plagued with expectation and desire, projections of right and wrong. Most relationships in the world are just not between two people, but two sets of projections. When you meet your master, you experience a love which your mind will try to box in some way. Say, oh, this is what it is, and the same play of projection may even start. But you realize quickly enough that there is no dance of projections possible. It's just not possible. And that is the value of this love. And it's also very rare to be able to receive such a love. Not just to find, but also to find and then to receive. Because initially, of course, because we're so jaded with the human condition, we keep checking, what does he really want? I just want you to wake up. No, but what? How can I help you? You really can't. Just wake up. We're not used to that. We're not used to that. Right? But there must be something I can do. No, there isn't. Just wake up. Then our skeptical mind can say, maybe it'll show up. Kuch to hoga. You continue in satsang, and hopefully by God's grace, Guruji's grace, you don't find such a thing. You experience a love which is completely undemanding and yet fully demanding. Undemanding of the small things. What you think you can give, I don't want. But I want everything that you take yourself to be, because all of that is basically garbage. And just like any parent would say, I would rather have it than you. So it's a strange sort of circumstance where you're not used to giving this sort of love where you don't know how to demand, what to say. Not used to receiving such a love. Eh, he really doesn't want anything I have to offer. And yet he loves me or she loves me, whoever the master may be, or God, aspect of God you're devoted to may be. Basically, to cut a long story short, in all this, how long have I been talking? To cut a long story short, I am deeply afflicted by God's love in my heart. And I have no option but to try and spread this infection far and wide. That's all that is really happening.
We met in the Yogiji's ashram, so that Shana sent me the picture. When we were there.
Tell me some more, maybe.
So we gone. I once told you about this. Like she looked like.
Yes, you said you were in the cab, no? That one.
Yeah, the cab one. And then once I tried to. She's always many times I've been busy.
Yeah.
And I tried to give her. First I was scared of her, and then so tried to get more money. I said, okay, give her. So, but when she looked at me, I realized that she wasn't mad at all. I mean, that you're such a clear saying no. But a year, I think when 2020, when we met, now when Guruji had come, and then we were all there at Guruji's ashram, and she was also there, and I showed you.
I saw her.
Yeah.
So what happened?
No, so Mahadevi said that she said she was a non-Duality.
Okay.
And that they did try to reform her, and gave her.
Who is to help whom in that
I don't know.
situation?
So she refused. I mean, she just threw those clothes away. She didn't kind of do any of.
What is today's contemplation? I've forgotten myself. This is like do as I say, don't do as I do. Yeah. I felt the verses themselves were enough. I didn't have to write anything. I just translated, because the translations of the Upadesha which I got weren't very like just saying what the verses were saying. So I just changed that and I posted it. That's all. Sometimes these can seem like, oh, this is not about awareness, consciousness, this is about something like, what, don't worry and things. But if you meet them, you see that how much we are only blocked by worry in a way. So Bhagavan has clearly said. In fact, we were talking about this the other day also, where in today's world, and I don't know if earlier also, but it's become like a work primary sort of mode of living. Work above all else, work is worship. And work is worship has been taken so strongly that work is, like we say work is worship, but worship is not worship anymore. Like only work is worship. And most of you will have this. So it's, for example, I'm just taking an example. So if this child says to her parents that, oh, and she's like not a small child, but I feel it's for most of us, even my mom will call now, she's like, oh, how long was satsang today? Oh, it was 2 hours. Yeah. So this is the condition. But if you say to your parents, oh no, I was working for the last 5 hours non-stop. Oh, but get some rest, sleep properly. Do you in satsang 5 hours? No. Be balanced. So it's become a very work primary life. So anyway, I was going off topic. So Bhagavan said, if the fruits of the action are only determined by God's will, then how is it that we take action to be God? How is it that we can take action to be God if the fruits and the outcomes of those actions are only in God's will? And what happens in the movements of my mouth and my hands and my feet and whatever is only up to God's will, then the power is only with God. And therefore action by itself is only inert. It doesn't have any life without God's life. It's just inert. And then what was it? Was 3 was what? Did the contemplation thing? What was 3? Yeah, which one?
This from the Bible.
No.
Second one is Upadesh style.
So, they're basically the 2 from Sri Maharishi.
Yeah. What is the second one from
The
Bhagavan?
second one is when actions are dedicated to God alone.
Yes.
Our mind and intellect is free from worry and freedom is
So it says Arpit Karo, and then the translation was saying something else. So I just said, when the actions are dedicated to God alone, then we are free from worry about outcomes and fruits and things like that. And only free from worry in this way, in a surrendered way, is the doorway to freedom open, or freedom possible. Then from Matthew, Jesus had said, basically paraphrasing, why do you worry so much? Why do you worry so much about tomorrow and whether there will be food to eat and clothes to wear? These birds don't do agriculture. They don't sow and they don't reap. And yet they are flying freely. And aren't you supposed to be much better off than birds? So if God takes care of even birds, then why not you? Then Krishna said same thing. Surrender all doing actions and inactions to me. Rest in me. And be free from your worries. Surrender unto me. Yeah, everywhere we look, it's the same thing. sometimes it's in the simplest one, the simplest contemplation sometimes. The mind may be very skeptical of them and say, oh no, this is covered ground, and I like the ones which are more like about inquiry and things like that. But please don't discount them. If they're showing up for you in some way, just see if you can follow. Because if it is covered ground, then very good anyway, so you can still look at it. But it may show up something where you might find that you still have some attachment to some idea that it has to be this way, my life has to go this way, this is what I need to do, I don't need to do it, all of these things. But one thing is important, and maybe I should write that in the contemplations also, is that I'm speaking about you inwardly. I'm speaking about you inwardly. What flows outwardly is going to be a unique expression of how God will play this out. But inwardly we are one. Inwardly it is the same. So in your conceptual emptiness, what you find within you is the one being that animates this whole dream, which all of us seeming to be here. It is not that you go within you, you find a different God. It's the same being. Isn't that itself so beautiful? Of course, within is the term I'm using very loosely. Because what is within what is also upside down in the mind's philosophy. So now what could be left which is not resolved by God's presence? What burden can you still carry? There could be a silly idea. You say, no, but I haven't really seen it, or I have to stabilize more. It's ideas. It's here or no? That's all. God's presence is not really, although poetically we may say sometimes, but not really less or more. It is just what it is. It is your attention. It is your focus with your belief. It is your intellect which may seem to guide you in another way. But God is the light of this universe. Is there an aspect of what I'm saying which still sounds like science fiction or fantastical or just mythology or something? Sometimes our skepticism and doubt can just hide behind that also. Like I said, no? When I first heard Ashtavakra Gita, very nice poetry. I realized he's talking about me. So everything I've said in Satsang has been about you. Everything has been about you. So don't allow your mind to create some barrier, say, I have to progress more. I have said that which is alive and true about you today as is. You don't have to believe it. It requires something greater which you cannot do.
Sometimes it's with a sense of wonder.
And that is helpful because wonder sort of makes us open. When I say to wonder, we are open. In that way, it is helpful. How many trying to juggle God and you? God and me? Juggle? What are the means? What are the tools at your disposal to juggle? How will you do it? Huh? See?
That, sort of like a validation or checking.
Yeah, constant like checking. Checker guy. That's a popular jugglery method, yes. How do you feel you're juggling?
I don't even feel I can juggle.
You can't, that's what I'm saying. Can't juggle, it's impossible. But maybe, what are you feeling like? There's an oscillation? Or?
When I'm here, it's different. It's like partly, sometimes, and partly like fried.
Fried.
And when I'm not here, it's much easier to forget. Out here, there's this constant coming back. The excuses are not as valid. So.
Yeah, and this is, in a way, why we have Satsang. Because all of this stuff can just sound either too fantastical, poetic, even mystical, all of that, all these words are available for us to guard against this most obvious reality. Will you come to Satsang? Huh? So then, are you making any of this up? This is a good time to check that, because once you leave, your mind, you're making it up. You haven't really found God. You're making it up. Are you making any of this up? This is the time to confirm, and maybe leave a note for yourself in your pocket. Refer to note in pocket when you doubt. Is God here or no? Is what I'm asking. Making it up? Difficult? Huh. You have a very expressive face. Nitin. It's very good. It's very helpful in Satsang. Otherwise, someone able to do it the other way. I'm actually very troubled, Father. I'm very angry. Put your face. The other way around. Jyotima had this big frown on her face.
What?
I said to Jyotima, what's happening? I'm so happy. So I said, tell your face.
I was like so transparent.
You
like-
can't control this thing. I'm just making fun of it. One tip I have for all of you is that just like how we started, remember that your mind's conclusion or narrative about what is happening in satsang today or any day has nothing to do with your insight. So many times I see this, that after satsang I get a report. But I see you in satsang also and the report is completely different. So I notice that the mind can just get you and say, but this, but. And if you're truly, fully off track as your mind is proposing, then I would spot that in satsang and get your attention in some way. So don't buy into the notions of the conclusions that the mind sells to you, especially after satsang, because that is the time where it will try to grab you immediately. Say, now it's my time. Like children, when you come back from work, your work is done, now you're mine. And that way, like this child used to say, after those days she used to smoke and then, so she used to say that in satsang I'm all fine, but the minute satsang gets over, I said, no, just take a smoke, relax, just come back to normal.
Noticing my inclination towards temple worship, I wasn't that ready for that. But recently I've been finding a reason to visit temples. And at the same time, I'm not able to convince myself to do contemplation. There is some opposite things happening there.
They're not opposed to each other in some way. If you're going to temples, you feel nice, you feel the presence of God, it's very beautiful, nothing wrong with it. And when you see a contemplation, what happens?
It's real, that's a thing where I feel that burning and it's very difficult to do that.
All of them or just some of them?
No.
Oh. Even today it was quite very straightforward. I didn't even say anything. Just
I'm not saying that.
But good to notice this. So, like sometimes we may feel like, oh, but God's will, and then it will come in a way, and I will burn my ego. But it could just be this. The master saying, do the contemplation every day. No? It's like, let's see, maybe. Just that itself could be just be enough to burn the ego. You don't have to expect big things to happen. And we notice that how easily the mind makes a fog around that and says, no, he doesn't mean it really. I do. He's like, I noticed this, and I'm noticing again. Everything I'm saying is from my own experience in the past. How so many masters have said various things to me, and I'm just like. And then when life grabs us by the throat, we wonder why do these things happen to me? Because the subtle messages we don't get. The Master is providing a tool for us every day so that our life can be lived in God's presence. But none of you must feel guilty at all is what I'm saying. I'm just asking you to notice that what is being asked of you is not something that you are doing for someone else. It's just for you to lead a life which you yourself are yearning for. See? But then what can happen is that, no, this one, I don't know. My practice or inquiry is better. I'm not saying leave any of that. You can lead a contemplation for 10 minutes. Just what is being asked? Slow read and just try to meet in the heart. That's all.
I'm not able to make myself do that.
Yes. So it's good to notice this.
Go to temple and maybe run and go. I don't know.
It's good, that is also good. But don't allow your mind to make it in opposition to each other. Because both those things are on the same side. This is one of the tricks of the mind which will say, this, this, then, but if you do the contemplation, then do you not want to go to it? There is no correlation like that. You can do both.
What I'm feeling is I may be hunting for grace in temple. That's what after meditation comes from.
Yes. What is the true way of knowing anything? Remember that we whole 10-15 days we were just like, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know? It was to break that linkage beyond of knowing through our mind. You see? And I feel that example, analogy, metaphor, whatever is very good. That if you call the thief for its address, it's going to always tell you a different direction. So if our knowledge is based on that itself, which we're trying to be free from, you see, then, but we still trust it. This is itself the narrative that I'm talking about. You see? And this is a very simple sounding story. If you're trying to catch a thief, who will be stupid enough first to call the thief and say, tell me where you are, I want to catch you? Who is? Yeah. Second, when that comes, who would be stupid enough to follow? That is our human condition. There's no point shying away from it. Better to meet it and say, this is what we are doing. You want to have manonasha. No? Complete dissolution of the mind. Because Bhagavan said, till there is manonasha, you will not be free, you will not be self-realized, whatever. Yeah? If he said that, then where do we go to find it? The mind. How will I get? What do I have to do? Have I got it yet? So Bhagavan has said, the diet metaphor is good for this one. Go on a complete diet. No? And while munching on our cookies and chocolate, how should I go on a diet? When will I start? Why doesn't it happen to me? This is the state of the human conditioning. So the instruction, one tip is that the instruction is meant to be met instantly. Empty of mind? Now. Contemplate when it shows up. What is being asked? That you meet it in your heart. All resistance is mind trying to avoid this meeting, isn't it? It's very good for for us to notice collectively all of these things. It's like a parallel I have from work. There was a point at work where I used to work, we were running this business together, and my father um, was working along with me. So he would say that remember one thing, that your people will not necessarily leave for one big thing that happened. It is these 10 small things which could all add up to get them to leave. In the same way, when we are thinking about freedom, surrender, we may be hoping that a big event will happen and then I will fully surrender to God's will and then it will be done. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that. It's these small, small resistances, these tiny things which just seem to block us from the light. Fundamentally, it is what does freedom mean to you? Fundamentally, it boils down to that. If God's will was completely opposed to your idea of what you should do in life or what should happen in life, what would you follow? Not that it will be or has to be. But if it was, would you still follow it? When we live in God's life, that is the only time we can truly say we are living anyway. And what is to be done if you follow your mind? Just notice and return. If you break your fast, don't eat more chocolate cake. after that. Notice it, with him.
If you notice it, I will still return to this mental now.
What do you mean by mental now?
I mean, just because you made us experience this year, when I go back to somewhere and something bothers me, so I'm like, okay now. So it just seems to be an avoidance of that which is coming up, and that's not a bad thing. So it doesn't even feel as palpable or.
Does it take you out of the mental hypnosis, or you just like you feel like it's a very sort of timid sort of tactic which the mind itself is using? Is that what you meant by mental now?
Yes.
But that itself is a good noticing, because how many can even spot this? Spot that this is the mind is trying to control my spirituality. Now be in the now. So what if it comes from there? Don't become antagonistic towards it. Thank you, and really come home. This is very important. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up, because when we are switching over from the way of the head to the way of the heart, one of the mind tricks for the switchover could be that you must not follow the head, you must follow the opposite of what it is saying. But the mind is smart enough to know that you made such a conclusion for yourself. So then, like a parent who uses reverse psychology, come to the now. You are the mind. I won't come to the now. So what to do then? Find the true guidance within you. Okay. So let me simplify it. What is the crux of this? Are you living in God's light or not? If you're not living in God's light, then with everything at your disposal, come to it. Like, this life is not worth it without it. It's not a way to live unless you're living in God's light. Everything. Breathe, contemplate, meditate, breathe, whatever your heart is saying. Come to it. With all your passion and all your might and everything you think you are and is at your disposal. Dedicate yourself to God in this way. And once you come to God's light, then allow it alone to unfold. Because God's presence is also God's will. Not in the way that we can understand it, but being in God's presence is also to be in God's will. To meet God's presence is also to meet God's will. So allow that to unfold. As you are allowing life to unfold in God's presence, in God's light, it is following God's will. And if you're guided something from the heart, very clearly from God, then follow that unwaveringly. And if you can't follow it unwaveringly, bring it to God itself, saying, this is my attachment, this is my fear. That's basically it. Yeah? Are you all able to hear, or is there too much mind traffic? Anyone wants me to repeat this? I'm happy You only lose some little bit self-image. So, first is whether you've come to God or not, met God's light, God's presence or not. Because before that is done, it is like a preliminary step, maybe a sort of conceptual spirituality where we think we've learned a lot, all of those things. But all of that has only been building up to this. You see? So, it's like saying that I have read all the menus in the world but I have not tasted any dish. You see? And many seekers in this world today will go like that only, just reading all the menus. And maybe a glimpse here and there of something. You see? But really it is about being able to live then in God's light. To live in God's light, first we must come to a true meeting of God's presence in our heart. And all the tools have been made available to you. The contemplations are there for you for that. Everything, all the beautiful scriptures, the sages, everything is for that. The devotional singing, the chanting, the spiritual teachings, the inquiry, the surrender, everything is for that. Use whatever appeals to you. And if you found one you can call a master in your life, then follow that one as well to lead you to your heart. And it is my prediction and my blessing that for those who dedicate themselves to this in this way, it will happen. It will not be not found. And yet, don't make that expectation primary. So, as you come to this, and as you stay with this, and the staying is primarily intuitive, although initially it may seem like you stay with some attention as well. But as you stay with this, you will realize that everything I have said about this in today's satsang and much, much more is actually true about this present. Then what is it to live in God's will? Lost me somewhere again?
It's this inability to just be what you speak of. No?
Yes. And the inability is because of what? Mind activity, attention to mind, belief in mind. What is it? Can you know?
Attention, belief, and lack of experience.
What tells you about the lack of experience?
The feeling that it being
The feeling tells you that you are not experienced enough. A feeling is just a perception. It's just like a vibration. How do you know what the feeling is conveying? Is your heart telling you or your head telling you? So that is the same as mind traffic. Guruji has a beautiful example of this. He says, if we have something like stage fright, if we think we have stage fright, then what happens when we go on the stage is we may feel like, oh, I'm so scared, I don't want to talk, I'm feeling so nervous, all of those things. But if you experience the same feeling when you're going for an enjoyable holiday and you say, I'm so excited, I'm so happy. You see, so it's not the feeling in itself which means something. It is what the feeling is interpreted to be. Which is what I was saying about satsang also. Many of you, I see you in satsang, you're just fine. But later the mind makes a narrative that this is what it was, this is what is happening. So that whole metaphor of not calling up the thief for the thief's address.
I shouldn't use the word feeling.
Yeah.
What I mean is when I'm sitting here and when you say, are you aware, is it here?
Yeah.
There is something that is a felt experience. I
Yes.
don't know how to articulate
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. This
But
is
when I'm doing this by myself, it is not so.
it will be so. Until then, make yourself like very regular in satsang, which you are. Which you are. Initially, it can feel like that, but don't make that a thing, because the mind will keep beating you up based on that. Look at it as a good thing, that at least I'm getting the meeting to happen when I come to satsang. That itself is a great blessing in life, because it will try to convert it into something. No, but till you are able to do it independently, you have not got anything. And somehow with the boys that happens more than with the girls. I've seen this. The boys will always at one point say, no, now I've heard, now I have to. Maybe it is like that Alexander syndrome. You know this Alexander, because his father also was a great conqueror. So Alexander, he decided, was waiting for his father to die, because he said, if he doesn't die, then I will have no world to conquer anymore after this. Not that blatantly, of course. But this is like sort of manly, independent sort of thing, which may propose to you that, yeah, it's okay. How much do you want to be dependent on sadhana? He's told you everything, but can you do it outside satsang? No? Until you're not able to do it outside satsang, you're useless. It's no point. Instead of that, I would say that how many have this blessing in this universe, in this world, on this earth of 7 billion, supposedly, that they're able to come to an environment where for a few hours you can taste God. Very few. Very few have that blessing. So first, when you are in satsang, then don't try to solve it for the one that is not in satsang later. Fully immerse yourself while you are in satsang. And what happens to the one later, even this is the best gift you can give that one also. If you spend your time in satsang thinking about that one, that is not the best gift for that one. Is it? For your complete openness and emptiness right now, as you are in satsang, is the greatest gift you can give to the apparent future one. Okay? Because I've seen this trick from the mind, because when you're here, you're thinking about what will happen after you go from satsang. See? And then when you're outside, you feel like, see, it doesn't work. It's not happening for me by myself. So both times the mind keeps you away from the true inside. Instead of that, now you have it available. So lunch is in front of you, don't think about dinner. Eat it up. As you immerse yourself in this moment, then you will soon see that the vast difference it felt like initially between being in the satsang environment and being outside may not seem as much. Yeah. It's very beautiful to even contemplate this, because you notice this and you see that what are we saying? We are saying that God is felt now, but what about later? Right? Hello, God is felt now. Yeah? God is felt now. That way we short circuit the mind's tactic. It's that which seemed like a complete impossibility a few years ago. And then maybe we had ideas about how it would be done differently, and then all of those things, but you notice that just so naturally and simply within myself, God's light is here. Why worry about later? The greatest force in the universe is meeting you now. Meet it now fully. Latch onto it, even if it seems like a mild fragrance. Yeah. Can I really be sure? Am I fooling myself? All these doubts will come in the head. Don't follow the doubt. Even if it feels like there's a small silver lining which is calling you from the heart. Get on that scent like a well-trained dog. Those dogs are trained to follow the scent. The police dog, just get on that scent and don't leave it, come what may. And you have the reassurance that if you leave it, then don't leave it. But if you do leave it, then you have satsang tomorrow or whenever, day after. The scent will come. Follow that scent. That's all you have to do. Nothing else is important in life. Nothing else is important in life. Everything else can unfold on its own. Let it unfold or not unfold, nobody cares. Stay on the scent of God. Don't leave it for anything, whatever the exchange may be. You may get a phone call from Amitabh Bachchan saying, "Come, I have a seat for you in Kaun Banega Crorepati." I'm on the scent of God. Nothing, all the distraction will come. Your soulmate will appear from nowhere. Hey, this will complete me. No, I am on the scent of God. Again, inwardly. Inwardly. Although I have to express as if it is outward. Don't be attached to any offer coming from the world, from your mind, from anything. In the stories what we hear, when somebody was truly meditating, what would happen? First all the distractions and trouble would come. Then they would show that all these minor devatas will come with some offerings. You take this, you settle for this. No. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Come, I'll give you this, what a fair maiden, beautiful palace, and I'll give you this. No, Om Namah Shivaya. Like that. So you follow the scent of God like that. The dogged pursuit, literally. Nothing in this world means anything in comparison to that. The mind may paint pictures of you living a life which is meaningless and pointless. No, it is its way which is meaningless and pointless. And if you spend your entire life just chasing the slightest fragrance of God in your heart, it will be a life worth living, better than if you became the richest man on this earth, or you got the best partner the universe had to offer. None of that means anything compared to this. Complete devotion, complete dedication to this, everything in life dedicated to this, and it will reveal by God's grace. But the revelation of it is not the culmination of the journey. The revelation of God's light is the point where we truly started living. In many cultures, we may call this a rebirth. It's a rebirth. And to live in the light of God, in the shine of God. So this is the part that I was talking about. Once you find it, then to live in the light of God and to allow this presence to unfold without mental hypnosis and contamination is to live a life in God's light. And most of it may happen wordlessly, but don't create this as an idea that I cannot be guided in words by God. Because if God will use you as an instrument to guide others with words, then the words can be used for yourself as well. That's it. That's the way to live. That is true spirituality. Nothing for me. Nowhere did I say, okay, now if you come to this, you will get great bliss and your life will become stress-free and all the money, you can manifest things and you can... Throw that. This is the secret. And as long as you come in front of me, come and meet me in any way, I'm just going to keep reminding you. Keep reminding. Because as hurtful as it may sound momentarily, if you don't lead life in this way, then you're not living anyway. A dead man walking, which is not something I can bear to see my children. Alright, we're going to disconnect from the audio satsang. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been quite long today. Love you all so much. Very happy all of you can join. I'm waving to all of you as if you can see, but you cannot. Okay. सद्गुरु श्री मुजी बाबा की
जय।
सतगुरु श्री अनंत जी की जय।
जय।
गुरु कृपा केवलम।